Virginia Memorial, located in the center of the Confederate line. Before us is the largest monument to a Confederate state, the Virginia Memorial. Atop the granite base is the commander of the Army of Northern Virginia, General Robert Edward Lee, upon his horse Traveler. He looks east, across this nearly mile-wide creek, towards Cemetery Ridge. It is on the final day of the battle, July 3rd, that Lee will order his troops to charge across these fields toward the center of the Union line and make its charge. The Union center, the high water mark of the Confederacy, is marked by the copse of trees. To its left, we see the statue of the Union commander of the Army of the Potomac. General George Gordon Lee attacked his horse Billy Walker. Later in the tour is stopping in that spot.
General Lee and General Meade. One comes down in history as perhaps the greatest military leader of his time, a mythic warrior hero. The other is often a side note, spoken of in unflattering terms, who's overlooked in favor of charismatic subordinates. Lee is the great hero, nearly godlike in the consciousness of the Confederacy. He comes to Gettysburg as the daring, dashing, brilliant, and unbeaten leader of the Confederacy's premier army. A subordinate describes Lee at Gettysburg. He sat on his well-bred iron gray Traveler and looked across the fields eastward. He was 56 years old, a gentleman by blood and breeding, so truly that he was unmindful of it. He was neat in his uniform of gray, so careful in his dress. He wore a hat of gray felt with medium brim, and his boots fitted neatly, coming to his knee with a border of fair leather an inch wide. He was a kingly man whom all men who came into his presence expected to obey. Lee's father, Henry Lighthorse Lee, a hero of the American Revolution, disgraced the family with gambling debts and bad investments, eventually abandoning the family when Lee was a boy. Lee grows up with severely high expectations of himself, driving himself relentlessly to succeed. He graduates second in his class from West Point and is selected for the elite engineering unit of the Army. He served successfully in the United States Army for decades. When the Civil War breaks out, President Lincoln offers Lee command of the Union Army. After soul-searching, Lee writes, "The struggle has caused me to separate myself from a service to which I have devoted all the best years of my life and all the ability I possessed. Save in the defense of my native state, I never desire again to draw my sword." His beloved Virginia estate will be taken by the U.S. and turned into Arlington National Cemetery for Union soldiers. At the beginning of the war, Lee is ridiculed by some Southerners. He is perceived as cautious and nicknamed Old Granny Lee. But behind his grandfatherly features lies a fierce warrior. Lee craves the thrill of combat and does not shy away from bloody battles that kill thousands of men. He wants to punish his enemy. One rebel commander says, "Lee is audacity personified. His name is audacity." As commander of the Army of Northern Virginia, Lee wins a series of impressive, daring victories against heavy odds. In barely a year, Lee's men pushed the Federal Army from the verge of besieging Richmond to defending their own land in the north. Now, on July 2nd, he is fighting here on northern soil against a new adversary. Across this field is General George Meade. Like Lee, he is a graduate of West Point, who was selected for the elite engineers unit. Meade is from Pennsylvania, but has one sister married to a Mississippi planter and another to a Confederate general. Two of his nephews are fighting with Lee's army at Gettysburg. It is said Meade's temper could almost make the stones creep. Once in battle, he threatens to have an officer shot if he fails to rally his men. For his temper and his looks, Meade is called a damn old goggle-eyed snapping turtle. Meade is a tough fighter. As a corps commander, he was often near the front line, ending up with bullets tearing through his coat. Though only in command of the Union Army for 3 days when the battle begins, Meade has developed a detailed battle plan to fight Lee and protect Washington. When Lee hears of Meade's appointment, he says, "General Meade will commit no blunder in my front, and if I make one, you will make haste to take advantage of it.
We will now drive to Auto Tour Stop 7, Warfield.